saw on my camera after hiking alone. I've always preferred hiking alone. Not because I don't like people, I just don't like being around them out there. Nature feels different when it's just you. Quieter. Cleaner. More honest. This happened in early October last year. I had a long weekend off and decided to hit a trail I'd never tried before, a loop called Crescent Hollow, out in the Appalachians. Not a national park, just protected forest land. Most people don't even know it's there. No real trail map online, but I found a few mentions on old forums. They all said the same thing. It's beautiful. And weirdly empty. That's what I wanted. I packed light, tent, food, filter, first aid, and my GoPro. I've worn that thing on every hike for years. It's strapped right to my chest, runs all day, saves to cloud. Never had an issue with it. Never even thought much about it. It's just there, part of the ritual. I got to the trailhead around 7:30 a.m. No ranger station. Just a faded wooden sign and a locked gate with a handwritten note taped to it. Enter at your own risk. It didn't feel like a threat. More like, someone had given up trying to keep people out. The trail started off like any other, dense trees, soft dirt, gentle incline. I didn't see anyone for the first 2 hours. No tire tracks, no footprints. Not even deer sign. It was quiet in a way I didn't expect. Not peaceful. Still. Like the air wasn't moving right. Like the trees were listening. I talked into the GoPro now and then, stupid little thoughts to keep myself grounded. Hour 2, still alive. No ghosts. Just hungry. Stuff like that. Sometime around mile 5, I found a spot near a ridge to set up camp. Small clearing. No wind. No birds. Just quiet. That kind of dead silence that makes your own heartbeat sound loud. I cooked dinner, sat by a cold fire pit, and watched the trees. I couldn't shake the feeling that I wasn't alone. But I saw nothing. No movement. No sound. Just the trees, holding their breath. I went into my tent around 9. Zipped up. Rolled into the bag. Closed my eyes. And that's when I heard it. Just one sound. A single footstep. Crunch. Not close. Not far. Just wrong. Like it landed in the wrong time. I held my breath. Then another. Then silence again. I didn't sleep much that night. I packed up just after dawn. Didn't even eat, just broke down the tent, grabbed a protein bar, and headed back toward the loop. I told myself I was just tired, that I'd imagined the footsteps. But the trees felt different that morning. It was the same trail, but it didn't look the same. The moss on the trees seemed thicker. The light barely broke through the canopy. And worst of all, there were no sounds. No birds. No wind. Not even the crunch of my own footsteps felt right. I told myself to keep moving. I'd finish the loop, get back to the car, laugh about it later. But I started noticing things. Subtle things. The same crooked tree I passed 20 minutes ago, here it was again. A snag of red thread in the bark, I didn't have red on me. A wrapper I knew I'd buried in my trash bag, now lying in the dirt ahead of me. I started talking to the camera more, just to stay sane. Hour 6. Forest is weird. Pretty sure I'm being messed with by squirrels. If I don't make it out, tell my landlord to throw out my couch. Trying to joke, but my voice sounded tight. Thin. Like I didn't believe myself. At one point, I stopped and turned in a full circle. There were no more trail markers. None. I hadn't noticed when they disappeared. I found a clearing around noon and sat down. Forced myself to eat something. And that's when I saw the GoPro battery was still running. 8 hours. Non-stop. I figured I'd skim through it later, just in case I'd missed something weird. But before I even made it home, something else happened. I heard my own voice. From the woods. Not from the camera. Not an echo. From the trees. Same tone. Same words I just said 20 minutes ago, on that video. If I don't make it out, tell my landlord to throw out my couch. It came from my left. Calm. Light. Perfectly mimicked. I stood frozen. I didn't even breathe. Then it came again, but from farther back, behind me this time. If I don't make it out. Fainter. Warped. Like the voice was melting. I ran. No direction. Just away. My feet pounded roots, rocks, something soft I didn't want to think about. I didn't stop until I saw the rusted gate. Same sign. Same tape. I don't remember driving home. I only remember sitting on my floor hours later, in the dark, with the GoPro plugged into my laptop. I scrubbed through the footage. It was all there, the hike, the trees, the jokes, the clearing. But at one point, while I was walking, the camera shook. Just for a few seconds. Then stilled. And behind me, clear as daylight, someone stepped into the frame. Wearing my backpack. Walking exactly like me. Head down. Then looking up, directly into the lens. And smiling. I stopped using the GoPro after that. I told myself it was just a glitch. A corrupted frame. Something weird with the motion tracking. I even looked up tutorials on how cameras can be hacked, just to have any explanation that didn't involve what I knew I saw. Because what I saw was me. Same jacket. Same boots. Same tired posture. But the smile, it was wrong. Too long. Too sharp at the corners. Like someone trying to wear my skin from the inside. But that wasn't the part that really broke me. That came 2 nights later. I was home. Showered. Rested. Almost convinced myself none of it mattered. But I couldn't sleep. My head was full of noise, like whispers layered behind my thoughts. At 3:17 a.m., I woke up to my phone buzzing. One new voice memo. I never recorded it. I opened the file. Hit play. My voice. Soft. Calm. You made it back. That's good. You made it back. That's good. You made it back. That's good. It looped. Over and over. Same words. Same tone. Except on the 4th loop, it changed. You made it back. But which one of us didn't? Then silence. I deleted it immediately. Restarted my phone. But the file kept returning. Same timestamp. Same file name. Same audio. I stopped checking. A few days later, I got an email from my cloud backup service. It said a new folder had been synced from my GoPro, titled Second Walk. Inside were dozens of clips. All of them off. Different weather. Different lighting. Same trail. But it wasn't me holding the camera. It was someone else. Someone breathing heavier. Speaking in my voice, but slower. And always laughing softly at the end of each recording. The final clip was 6 minutes long. The camera is walking toward a clearing. My tent is there. And I'm in it. Asleep. The camera gets closer. Closer. The breathing gets louder. At the very end, just before the video cuts out, the lens lifts slightly, and I hear my own voice whisper. I made it back first. I haven't gone hiking since. I don't sleep well anymore. Sometimes, late at night, I hear someone walking down the hall in my apartment. And in the silence between breaths, I swear I hear someone pressing record.
Story 2.
My brother disappeared in the woods. Then he came back. I hadn't seen my brother in 4 years. Not after what happened in the woods. We used to hike together all the time growing up, short trails, mostly. Weekend trips with our dad. Mark was always the more curious one. He'd wander off trail, climb trees, follow animal tracks way too far. I'd call out after him like some overprotective parent. He'd always come back laughing. We hadn't done a hike together since college. Life just drifted. But 3 years ago, he texted me out of nowhere. Found a place we never tried. Want to go? I said yes. Didn't even think about it. I missed him. He picked me up on a Friday morning in late October. Cool, dry weather. We drove 3 hours out to some patch of forest south of the state line. No trailhead, no signage, just trees and space. Trust me, he said. I did. We hiked for hours. It was beautiful. Untouched. Quiet in a way that makes your thoughts stretch out too far. Mark had a compass and a hand-drawn map. Said it looped around some ridgeline and dropped us by a creek we could camp near. We got there late, too late. Set up the tent just before dusk. I remember sitting by the fire that night, feeling off. Not scared. Just a little too aware of how far we were from everything. Mark, meanwhile, was staring into the dark like he saw something moving. I asked him what it was. He didn't answer. I woke up cold. It was barely light out, just a strip of blue behind the trees. The fire was out. Our packs were there. My boots. My jacket. But Mark was gone. At first I thought he was taking a leak. Then I saw his boots were still by the tent. I called out. No answer. I checked the creek. The trees. The hill behind camp. Nothing. His footprints went 20 feet down the trail, then stopped. Clean. Like something had lifted him out of the ground. I searched for 3 hours before I called for help. Had to hike all the way back to the highway to get a signal. Rangers came. Dogs. Helicopters. You name it. They never found him. He was gone. And then, 6 days later, he knocked on my apartment door. I stood in the doorway, frozen. Mark was just there. Same hoodie, same jeans, same scar on his chin from when we were kids. But something felt off. Not wrong exactly, just thinner. Like he wasn't taking up as much space as he used to. He didn't say anything. Just looked at me and gave this tiny smile. It barely moved his face. Hey, he said. I made it back. I wanted to hug him. Ask him what the hell happened. But I didn't move. He walked past me into the kitchen and sat down at the table, like no time had passed. Like we hadn't spent nearly a week searching the woods for a body. Like he hadn't been gone without food, water, shelter, or answers. I asked him where he'd been. He looked up and said. I kept walking. But the trail kept repeating. I waited for more. He didn't add anything. I asked if he remembered calling for help. He shook his head. I wasn't lost. I was being watched. That night he stayed at my place. Slept on the couch. I didn't. I just lay in bed staring at the ceiling, listening. Around 3 a.m., I heard whispering. Not clear words, just breath moving wrong in the air. I got up, stepped into the hallway. Mark was sitting upright on the couch, staring at the wall. His lips were moving. No sound. Just the slow twitch of his mouth shaping empty syllables. I said his name. He turned his head, too slowly, and said, "You were there, too. But not you. In the morning, he acted normal. Made coffee. Asked about work. Laughed at something on TV. But every once in a while, he'd go blank. Not confused, just still. Eyes open, lips pressed tight like he was holding something in. I asked if he wanted to talk about it. He looked at me and said, "I don't think I came back alone." He stayed with me for 2 more nights. I told my parents he was fine, that I'd bring him by soon. I lied. Because the longer he was in my apartment, the more it felt like he wasn't supposed to be. Not just mentally. Physically. Like the space resisted him. Shadows clung to him longer. The hallway seemed narrower when he walked through it. My dog, a sweet, dumb rescue, refused to go near him. Would whine and hide in the bathroom whenever Mark was in the room. And Mark never slept. He'd lie there with his eyes open, staring at the ceiling. Once, I walked past him at 4 a.m. and saw him smiling at nothing, as if someone was whispering a joke directly into his skull. Then the scratching started. Soft at first. Under the floorboards. Behind the walls. In the pipes. I live on the 3rd floor. No raccoons. No squirrels. No one above me. One night I walked into the kitchen and found Mark standing in front of the fridge, staring into its reflection. "They don't like mirrors," he said. I asked who. "The ones that stayed behind. They're angry you didn't wait." I told him I didn't understand. He looked at me like I should. "You didn't hear me calling?" Later that week, I checked my phone. There was a voicemail. Timestamped 3 days before he showed up. I never noticed it. It was nothing but wind. And under the wind, faint sobbing. His voice. My name. Repeating. "Don't follow him. Don't follow him. Don't follow him." I played it 5 times. On the 6th, the sobbing stopped. And a different voice, colder, flatter, spoke. "You already did." I asked him to leave. He didn't argue. Just nodded. Gathered his bag. Looked me dead in the eye. "If they ask for me, tell them I'm still in the woods." Then he walked out. I haven't seen him since. But some nights, around 3 a.m., I wake up and find the front door unlocked. And sometimes, my reflection in the hallway mirror is already looking at me. Before I turn my head.
Story 3.
Something in the woods watches me. It never blinks. This isn't something I talk about. Because nothing ever happened. And somehow, that makes it worse. I was 16. It was late summer. My uncle had a cabin in Vermont, no plumbing, no reception, but surrounded by national forest. He used it mostly for hunting, but sometimes let me and my dad go up there for weekends when we wanted to escape the city. That weekend, I went alone. He trusted me enough by then. I had food, a knife, a sleeping bag, a crank radio. I wanted quiet. I was going through a breakup and convinced myself I needed space. Typical dramatic teen garbage. The first day was normal. I chopped wood. Read a bit. Ate bad chili from a can. Slept with the windows cracked open to let the cool night in. I woke up around 2 a.m. Not to a noise, to nothing. Like the world outside had paused. No wind. No bugs. No distant rustling. Just absolute, paralyzing stillness. I lay there for a few minutes, eyes wide open, trying to figure out what had pulled me out of sleep. Then I felt it. Not a sound. Not a shadow. A presence. Like something was just beyond the edge of the window. Not breathing. Not moving. Just watching. I didn't check. I couldn't. My limbs felt too heavy. Like if I moved, even a little, it would know. After maybe an hour, the bugs started again. The wind. The life. And it felt like whatever was out there, left. I didn't sleep. I just waited for light. The next morning, I walked the perimeter. No tracks. No markings. No broken branches. But the air still felt strange. Heavy. Like static before a storm. I told myself I'd imagined it. That I was just jumpy. But I made sure to shut every window and door that night. Didn't matter. Because it came back. And this time, I heard it inside the cabin. The second night, I locked everything. Bolted the door. Latched the shutters. I even stacked firewood against the back entrance, not because I thought it would stop anything, but because I needed to do something. I sat in the dark, flashlight in hand, knees pulled tight to my chest. I don't know why I didn't just leave. Something about it felt territorial. Like if I ran, it would follow. But if I stayed, maybe it would lose interest. That was the logic. Stupid. Useless. It came back around 1:40 a.m. I didn't hear it come in. I just knew it was there. The air went wrong again. Thick. Too quiet. The silence had a shape to it, like a dome over the cabin, sealing everything in. And then, from the far side of the room, in the kitchen, I heard a sound. Click. Like a fingernail against wood. Once. Then again. Steady. Not random. Like it was waiting for something. I froze. My light was off. I didn't dare turn it on. The clicking stopped. Then, footsteps. Not boots. Not shoes. Bare. Slow. Wood creaking under pressure, closer and closer, until they reached the other side of the wall I was leaning against. I held my breath. Something leaned in. No sound. No breathing. But I felt the cold of it press through the wood. And then, a whisper. I see you now. When I woke up, it was morning. I don't remember passing out. I don't remember falling asleep. Just black. Then light. The cabin was untouched. No sign of entry. No damage. Nothing out of place. Except one thing. The flashlight I'd been holding. It was on the floor by the front door. I never left that corner. I know I didn't. But the flashlight had moved, and it was pointing toward the window. I stepped outside just after noon. Needed air. Clarity. Something normal. The woods were still. I walked down toward the tree line. Just a few feet. Just enough to see the clearing. And there, standing between two narrow pines, was a figure. Still. Black. Long arms. No detail. Just form. I blinked. It didn't. I stepped back. It didn't follow. It just stood. Watching. Like it had all the time in the world. I left the next morning. Didn't pack properly. Didn't clean up. Just threw my gear in the trunk and drove until the trees thinned and the signal bars came back. I told my dad I cut the trip short. Blamed it on food, bad sleep, something forgettable. He didn't ask questions. I think he knew not to. But even after I got home, something followed. Not physically. Not footsteps or shadows. Just the feeling. Like a gaze pressed into the back of my skull when I turned out the lights. Like my apartment held too many corners. Like the silence wasn't empty anymore, it was full of something that wasn't me. The first time it happened was a week later. I was brushing my teeth, bent over the sink. When I looked up, I saw something in the mirror, behind me. Not movement. Not a figure. Just two pinprick reflections. Tiny and still. Like eyes, far too high for the room. They didn't blink. I spun around. Nothing. But the feeling stayed. Lingering. Patient. That night, I dreamed of the cabin. Only it wasn't falling apart anymore. It was clean. Fresh wood. Bright windows. And it was inside. Not chasing. Not moving. Just waiting. Like it knew I'd come back eventually. I moved a year later. New state. New job. But the dream still shows up. Every few months. Same cabin. Same air. Same silence. And always the same figure, standing just past the trees. Never closer. Never gone. I told a therapist once. She said it sounded like sleep paralysis. Trauma. I nodded. Smiled. Paid. Left. But then, 2 nights ago, I got a letter. No return address. Just a piece of paper, folded neatly. Inside, written in pencil, shaky, crooked letters. You closed your eyes first. So now I get to watch. I sleep with the lights on now. I moved the mirror out of my room. But sometimes, when the world goes quiet, just quiet enough, I feel it again. Standing just behind the silence. Still watching. And still not blinking.